She really has a unique blend where she brings mental health, she brings mindset, she brings energy, and she kind of wraps it all in neuroscience. So we're going to cue her up, and then I'll tell you who she is.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, let's give a big Super Coach welcome to Nicole.
Sort of feels like the Price is Right running down that aisle. You guys should all try that. I started my college career at a really tiny community college way up in the hills in the middle of upstate New York. And this college was so small that it didn't even have dorms, but I was able to find a tiny little apartment at the base of the hill. So every day I would drive up this hill and back down. And have any of you ever been in a New York, upstate New York winter? Okay, yeah. So you know that half the year that was a pretty tumultuous drive, but in the autumn, it was one of the most peaceful, beautiful drives you've ever seen. So I get in my car after class and I'm driving down this hill and the leaves are just starting to change colors. It is a peaceful drive. I've got the windows down when I notice flashing lights in my rear view. I'm getting pulled over and I'm this close to my house. And I'm getting pulled over for the first time in my entire life. So I'm sweating, I'm shaking, I'm on the verge of tears. And the officer comes and knocks on my window and he's like, "Do you know why I'm pulling you over?" And I'm like, "I have no idea, I'm really sorry." I'm like a good person at this point in my life, right? I follow the rules, I do the things. And he's like, "You just blew through that stop sign." Now, I have been driving this same road for well over a year. I have never seen a stop sign worth stopping at. I must have run this stop sign every single time for the past year. So before I explain how I got here, I have to take you back. And I have to take you back to when I was learning how to drive. And the person who taught me how to drive is my dad. This is my dad. We have a lot in common. Thankfully, one of those things is not our hairline. Jokes at his expense always. And my dad passed on this really dry, sarcastic sense of humor. So him and I share this sense of humor. I'm in my 30s and I still never really know if my dad is joking or not. But my dad would take me out driving every Sunday night and we would go to this local retail plaza. And we would loop around the parking lot. And if you've ever been to a retail plaza, you know that the front of the stores, it's like stop sign after stop sign after stop sign. And we would loop around and we would do this 20 times until I got it right. And I remember after like the 20th time I looked at my dad and I was like, "Dad," I'm 15 at the time, so cut me some slack. I'm like, "Dad, these stop signs seem smaller than usual. Do I need to stop at them?" And my dad looks me dead in the eye and he says, No, you only need to stop at stop signs that are 8 feet or taller. And based on the information I just gave you about my dad, you probably know that he was joking. Despite that information I just gave you about my dad, I didn't realize he was joking, so I ran just about every stop sign that I perceived to be less than 8 foot for a really long time until I got pulled over on the side of Corning Community College Hill. So the moral of the story is, just because you believe something doesn't make it true. And it's not your fault if you come to believe dumb things. It's not. We all come to believe dumb things. But it is your job and your responsibility to recognize it so you can fix it before it costs you. My specialty is helping people rock their comeback, which means people come to me for all sorts of reasons. They come to me when they feel like they've checked all the life's boxes. They've gone to college, they got their degree, they're working their way up the corporate ladder, but they just don't feel fulfilled in their life. They feel like they're going through the motions. Or people come to me when they're in what I call a black hole moment, which means that they have had some major loss, they have lost a job, they have gone through a divorce, and they're just trying to recreate themselves. They're trying to figure out who they are now. And I give them the tools in their mindset, and I give them tools to learn how to trust themselves again, to go and create a life that they really, really love. And I love that work. I love telling this story because you can look at that belief and say, that's embarrassing, Nicole. You all have secondhand embarrassment from me telling that story. But the reality is that our beliefs are really silly. And our beliefs are driving our actions whether we know it or not. And if you want to know if you have a jacked up belief in your life, look at an area of your life that sucks. Look at the area of your life you are struggling with the most. I guarantee you have some mental stop sign that is keeping you from progressing forward. So if our actions are driven by our beliefs, and our actions have a positive or negative consequence, then what we know is that we need to start looking at the stories we're telling ourselves about what we can and can't have. We have to look at the areas of our life where we're playing small and say, well, what do I believe to be true about this area of my life? What do I believe I can have, be, or do in this area of my life? Now, imagine if my dad didn't pass down this stupid stop sign belief, and instead he said, Nicole, you're not really that great of a writer. You should definitely not write books. What if he told me, people in business, they don't make money. People in business don't make money. Now, what if your clients come to you and they say, I've tried everything and nothing works? Who's heard that one? Yeah, okay. I've tried everything and nothing works. Or I'm just overweight and it's genetic and there's not a darn thing I can do about it. These beliefs are driving actions in your life and in your clients' lives. So we have to start to look very carefully at the stories we're telling ourselves, and when you're working with a client, you have to look at the stories they're telling themselves, because those are acting as blocks. And I'll pose the question, right? So what if it's not about the protein intake? What if it's not about the blood work? What if it's not about the stuff they're doing inside the gym or you're doing inside your business? What if it's in your mind? And I think that's the best news, because we know that the mind is changeable and moldable, and we have everything in our power to rewire it. I've spent a really, really long time as a master's level intuitive therapist, 15 years to be exact. I've written 2 books, and I have top 5% globally ranked podcasts. And if I had to pick one tool that will actually help you and your clients change your mind, it's the one I'm giving you today. But we're gonna play a game, because there's not one person in here who hasn't come across an Instagram or a TikTok that says mindset's important. Everyone's heard that, right? We can all agree? Yeah. But I don't want you to feel like you should be changing your mind. I want you to feel like you have to. So we're gonna play a game, and this is interactive, so I want you to yell at me, okay? So I want you to look around the room, and I want you to tell me what's green. So shout it out, and it can be any color green, it can be the smallest detail of green, but... Yes. Yes. You guys are so good with your colors. Okay. Anything else? Anything else you see? Any tiny detailed green?
The thing behind it.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. Now I want everybody to close your eyes. And I want you to keep them closed, and I want you to tell me what in this room is orange. Okay, you can open them, you can open them. This guy right here, stand up. I just looked at you and picked that color, to be honest. Okay, why was it harder to tell me what was orange? You guys all knew green, right? What we seek, we shall find. 100% of the time. If you are looking for it, you will find it. Now, it's fun and silly when I say look for blue, and you didn't notice orange was there the whole time, but it's a whole different story if I tell you, look for being good enough when you're looking for not being good enough. We're either creating our lives or we're surviving them. And I would much rather be a creator of my life. Now, the reason this works is because our brain is intaking billions of bits of stimuli per second, so it has to figure out what's the most important thing to pay attention to. Now, if you've ever gotten a car and you're driving in your car, in your brand new car, and you start to see that car everywhere, it wasn't that there was a mass production overnight. It was that you have a filter for that now, and it's important to you. So we're paying attention to what we believe to be true more than we are anything else. And that's a dangerous game if you don't believe really good things for yourself, and if your client doesn't believe really good things for himself. I like to think of this as a Google search bar, right? You type in something, and then your mind goes and looks for everything in the external world and everything in your internal memories for proof of what you're looking for. And I'm going to use this example because I am type B. I am so violently type B. You'll see on this next slide with the line spacing that I didn't notice until just now. If you were like, hey Nicole, we're going to go to Europe tonight. I don't really know where, but if you meet me at the airport at 6, I would go. Just to see what was up. But I used to marry two beliefs. I used to believe that if I was type B, then I was inconsistent. And when I started my business, this was an absolute problem because I would start this momentum of doing really great things in my business, and then it would just come to a screeching halt, but that was okay because I was inconsistent, and what could I do about that? And at one point, I got so sick of my own shit, and I think that's the point of real change, right? When we just get so sick of doing the wrong thing too many times, that I started to ask myself, well, what if I was more consistent? What would I do differently if I was more consistent? And I was not willing to believe that I was suddenly a consistent person, but I was willing to believe that I could be a little bit more of a consistent person. I was willing to believe that every single day I could get a little bit better at consistency. And my husband was reading a book the other day, this is like 3 years later, and I was asking him about it, and he was like, it's honestly just about morning routines, and you pretty much do this stuff every single day because you're probably the most consistent person I know. And I said, I know. We can change the stories we tell ourselves. We have the power to do that, and I'm going to give you a tool today that will do that for you. And I want you to also have the power to speak life into your clients to help them change their stories because they don't know any better. They've run that stop sign every single day for the entirety of their life. They don't know any better. So it's your job as somebody in their internal space to speak life into them and help them see things that they can't see. So this tool is near and dear to my heart. This is something that pulled me out of a very deep depression. This is something that took me from being really, really insecure to a really confident person. This is even something that I would accredit to taking me from having mice and bats crawling through my walls, being on government assistance, barely able to keep the lights on, to the total opposite end of the spectrum that my life is today. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to write a thank you letter at the end of the day today, or as if you've gotten to the end of the day, and everything that you wanted to feel, everything that you wanted to happen has already occurred and you're just saying thank you for it. I'm going to say that again. I want you to write a thank you letter as though you've gotten to the end of the day and everything you wanted to feel, everything you wanted to happen has already happened, and you're just saying thank you for it. This is going to prime your mind to tell you what you're looking for throughout the day. It's that automatic filter. It's that Google search bar. And we can do this for the day. I actually like to do it for the year. Every January, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write it as if I got to the end of the year, and all of these incredible things, all of this way that I wanted myself to grow has already happened, and I'm just really grateful for it. You can do this with a client. You can do this with a meeting you have coming up. I like to do it for the Coach Catalyst event, okay? So the one thing that I add that is not required, I'm a spiritual girly. I like that. So I always write my letter to the universe or to God. You do not have to if that's not your thing. This will still work and will be effective. So I like to write it to the universe because, hey, I can plug in the morning and be like, I've got help today. That's a great thing. So this is a good example, right? What if we were to walk into this event and we were like, hey, I'm at Sunday night and I am just so grateful that I made so many beautiful connections. I felt so motivated and so inspired, and I walked away with all these great tools, and I felt really confident in myself. I was able to like really easily share what I have to offer. And I'm gonna create some massive impact for my clients when I get home. How different would that be, rather than to just wander in here, maybe be too shy to talk to anybody, driving our behaviors and driving what we're looking for. That's the power of the mind. That's why it's not a should, that's why it's a have to. It creates an entirely different experience when you put yourself out there to do that. Now here's the things that's going to make it even better and even more effective, right? You don't need more than 5 minutes. This can be at the beginning of a workout session. You can have this conversation with a client. How do you want to feel at the end of this? How do you want to get through it? How do you want in your weakest moments? How do you want to feel? What are the results you're looking for? Let's get you there. Clarity is looking for what you want, not looking for what you don't want. We walk through the world the entire time, and we are looking for things we hate about it. We are looking for all the things that aren't working, and that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're focusing on. So the clarity of what you want, how you want to feel, and that for me is number one. I don't care how great I look. I don't care how good my life looks on paper. If I don't feel good, I don't want it. What's the point? So clarity. Number two, gratitude in the morning changes your life. I will die on that hill. There's a ton of science on it, but it also changes your energy field. It also changes how people see you. People are going to be drawn to you. When you walk in a room and you have good energy, you're drawn to that person. So gratitude. And repetition. One bicep curl does not make you Allie Gilbert, okay? So we want to repeat this over and over and over again. We want this to be a daily practice because we're rewiring something that has been hardwired for a long time. Our brain is unconscious at many points. So the more we revisit a story, the more we believe it. And the one thing I didn't put on here, which I wish I would have, is that there's two things that happen in why positive mindset doesn't work for a lot of people. And the big thing is we try to go too far. We go too far. We want to go 0 to 60. I wanted to go from being a really inconsistent, failing person to being a totally consistent person, but I was not willing to believe that. That was just so far off, my brain was going to kick that back. So if you noticed in my story earlier, I did two things. I did what if, and I did I'm willing to believe. We can stair-step our mind to get better results, and we can stair-step our clients' minds to get better results. I talk about what affirmations in my book, but when we ask our brain a question, it has to answer. And usually we use our what if for like bad, right? We use it for when we're like, well, what if this doesn't work? And what if nobody likes me? And what if, like, we use our what ifs for bad, so let's use them for good. The reality is that our brain doesn't know what's real and perceived, which is why you can have a panic attack in a safe environment when nothing is going on. It has no idea. So let's use that to our advantage by priming your mind for what we want it to see. And we know that this will also impact our behaviors. And the more we do it, the more magic you'll see in your world. And if you need a little help with that, I would love to help you out. I've got my latest book, Rock Your Comeback, and I'm hosting a retreat called the 48-Hour Vibe Upgrade. It is October 4th through the 6th in Orlando. And if you use the code WEEKEND, all capitals, it will get you $500 off. And I'm also debuting a new service, which is a solo retreat. So if you're like, I don't really like people, not my thing. Hate being vulnerable, not my thing. We'll talk about that in the therapy, but bear with me. But I'm doing a solo retreat. So it's a completely customized retreat based on what you need. And we spend a whole 2 days together working on your energy, working on your mindset, and working on the areas of your life that you're not in love with so that we can get you in love with them. But I'm Nicole Eaton, and I've loved this time with you guys. Thank you so much.
Nicole.